All right, my friends, it's Donnie and Sandra, and we have got something new, even for us, that we are doing for the very first time. And we are going to share this experience with you and let you know how it turns out in case you might want to do it also. You'll know how we did it.
We have two new things, actually.
Two new things we're doing. We're doing two things at the same time. And so what are we doing?
Okay, so it's a fall crisp morning this morning, so we decided we were going to make some apple butter so we can have some biscuits later on and make some biscuits and apple butter. So we went yesterday to Trader Joe's and got our apples. Now, we were going to go to Western North Carolina and get our apples, but we're not sure if they're even open. And so we just...
It's probably not the Western. For a lot of you that may not know, because our videos are public. They don't just go to our friends. I post this on YouTube, and so people all across America, and heck, even across the world, see these videos. And but the western side of North Carolina, where we live at, got hit by a historical hurricane named Helene, and it has absolutely destroyed cities and towns on on the western side of North Carolina. It just completely. These people, a lot of people, well, if they can rebuild on their land at all, if the land is still there, because this storm has changed the geological aspects of these areas. And so we're talking mountain areas. And so Hendersonville being kind of the apple capital of North Carolina, there's aspects of it had gotten destroyed. It seems like numerous apple farms out there, they weren't open.
Yeah.
And so, but at any rate, we decided to get our apples. We were able to get our apples from Trader Joe's. And so,
and the reason we went to Trader Joe's is because I wanted organic apples for the second thing we're going to make. So
okay, so
it needed to be organic.
We're doing apple butter, and what else are we doing?
We're doing apple butter and apple scrap vinegar.
Apple scrap vinegar. Now, we've already started, guys, because this is quite a lengthy process. And so, but what do we got going on?
Okay, so the apples that I chose, you need to choose at least 3 different kinds of apples. You need 5 pounds of whichever kind of apples you choose. So I picked at Trader Joe's, they had this one that I thought was cute. It's called Smitten apples. It says, once bitten, forever smitten. And they're supposed to have a great taste, sweet and juicy, crisp and crunchy. So maybe these are like comparable to like the Cosmic Crisp, maybe. And then I've got, we picked some Gala apples. And we have, one of the apple kinds needs to at least be Granny Smith. So we got so you need Granny Smith and 2 other kinds. But I picked 3 kinds. And then we've got the Honey Crisp.
Okay.
So we bought a 4-pound bag of Honey Crisp, and the other ones were 2-pound bags. So we've got 10 pounds of apples altogether. And altogether, these apples cost like $13, I think, at Trader Joe's. So I thought that was a really good deal too. So in here we've got our apple scrap vinegar. We will show you a video just specifically on making that here in a little bit, because I need to add some things to this. But this is just the scraps from the apples and the ribbons, the peelings, the cores, all that. And here I've got some apples going in some water and lemon juice because I'm not going to cook this right away. I'm just getting everything prepped for now, and I don't want my apples to turn brown, so that's why I'm putting them in some water and lemon juice. But we're going to cook these in the crock pot. I also probably need to go get another crock pot because I don't think one crock pot is going to be enough for 10 pounds of apples. So anyway, so we'll have 2 crock pots going. All right, and this is my handy dandy peeler, slicer, core. If you don't have one of these, I ordered this one on Amazon. We went through 2 of these so far in the last 20 years. I had my Memo Pools a long time ago. It broke. Then we had another one, and I accidentally dropped it, and it broke. So this is our 3rd apple
these
peeler
are really
core.
nice.
They're very nice. And then I just found out this morning that a KitchenAid makes one that you can put on your stand mixer, and it does it by hand, and you don't have to crank it. But anyways, we're cranking ours. So you put the apple on the little prongs right here, and then you're going to rotate it.
And it peels it and cuts it, at the
peels it
same
and cuts
time.
it and cores it. There's the core.
And cores it all at the same time. I tell you what, guys, I like to eat the peels. I always tell her, just put them all in a bowl and hand me the bowl.
Yeah, but we've got so many this time. Like I said, we're going to make the apple scrap vinegar, and then we're going to possibly go give our neighbors' chickens a little treat. So, but I just get these going, make sure there's no seeds or anything. And I'm going to put them in this lemon water for the time being, and then when we get them all finished, we will show you the next step. Okay, so we have all our apples processed now. This is early in the day, so that's why I'm not going to cook this right now. This is going to be the apple butter, and this is going to be the apple scrap vinegar. But
Oh man, this and this is going to be apple butter.
Yeah. This is 10 pounds of apples processed.
Okay.
The recipe that I'm going to include calls for 5 pounds, which would only take 1 crock pot. But I'm doubling the batch. Since I'm making this, I might as well make a big batch. So I'm going to need to get another crock pot from somebody or somewhere, and then I'm going to need to either get a bigger jar for my apple scraps, or I've got 2 smaller jars I make and put them in, and I need to get some filtered water for this.
And this is apple
scrap vinegar.
Apple scrap. Now what she did is all the peelings, the core, everything that you would normally throw away, she took them and put them in here and in here. And what did you put in here with this?
I just put lemon water in here for right now until I can get my filtered water, and then we'll show you how to make the apple scrap vinegar.
Okay, so all you're doing here is just preserving it.
Yeah.
So for the next step.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for right now, until I get all the rest of the things that I need, this is how it's going to be, and it's just you just want to put some lemon juice or some citric acid and some water and just cover everything really good so that it doesn't brown.
Okay, because when we're actually cooking the apple butter, how long is it going to take?
It's going to take 13 hours.
13 hours. So what we decided, guys, is tonight, before we go to bed, we're going to get the apple butter cooking. And what we're going to do is, I'm up all the time, at least on the hour, every hour and a half, using the bathroom. And so what I'm going to do is, when I get up, I'm going to stir it.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to stir it, what, every 2 hours or so?
Every hour to 2 hours, yeah.
Every 2 hours, you're supposed to stir it. So that's what I'm going to do when I get up. And as far as the
apple scrap vinegar is going to take about a week to complete. So we'll show you the beginning of it, and then we'll come back and revisit it in a few days. You're supposed to stir it every day for about a week. Then you strain it, and then you let it sit for a couple weeks till it actually becomes vinegar.
Okay.
So this is going to be a little bit longer process, but we'll show you all the steps.
We'll see you back when we're actually sticking it in the crock pot and cooking it. All right. You've already gotten one batch of the apple butter.
Yes.
Cooking right now.
Well, it's not cooking. It's just ready to go.
It's ready to go.
On at the same time.
Because they got to cook for 13 hours,
13
correct?
Hours, yes.
All right. So what do we got going on here?
Okay. So I was able to procure all my ingredients and equipment today. So it's nighttime, as you can see. So we're ready to go. I got a little bit smaller crock pot. I put a little bit less apples in there, so that recipe is a little less. This is going to be your 5 pounds of apples. 5.5. That's about 5.5 pounds of apples. So then you've got. We're going to use 3 cups of white sugar and 1 cup of brown sugar, and it does not have to be packed. Then you're going to do a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of cloves, a tablespoon of cinnamon, and just a little bit of nutmeg. You can use already ground nutmeg, but I would suggest using fresh nutmeg because it's so much better. It kind of loses its flavor after you've let it sit. So here we go. So we're going to do 3 cups of sugar, a cup of brown sugar, and then we've got our cinnamon. And I use 2 different kinds of cinnamon. This is the Ceylon cinnamon. It's not quite as spicy, but it's got a lot of antioxidants and it's really good for you. So we're going to use half a tablespoon of that and half a tablespoon. And if this isn't, I'm going to taste this in the morning and we'll see how the spices may need to be adjusted. Okay, 1/4 teaspoon of cloves. Cloves is a really strong flavor too. You can
it smells good.
Some people leave it out. You could leave it out. I've seen recipes with or without cloves, but I'm just gonna add a little spice. Not much. Like I said, very little bit. 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm using my Redmond's real salt, and then we're just gonna grate just a little bit of the whole nutmeg up. Where'd he go?
It's right here. Oh, there you go.
Okay. Nutmeg is good in it's good in macaroni and cheese. Just adds a little any like a cheese sauce or whatever. It's a little something where you're like, what is that? But what does it smell like, Donnie?
Oh no, it's got a special smell to it.
Yeah, it's its own unique thing.
It's a little something.
Yeah, it's that little something where you go, what is that? Okay, so we're gonna stir this up real good, and then we're gonna cut these on high for 1 hour, and then after that you're gonna cut them down to low for 9 to 11 hours. So I would start checking it around 9 hours. If it starts looking thick, you can cut it off. If it's still kind of thin, you can let it go. Like I said, this is my first time, so we're just gonna roll with it and see what happens.
Yeah, you're gonna see us have success
or failure.
Or we're gonna have a whole bunch of apples that we're gonna have to do something with.
And then the last hour, after you've cooked it the 9 to 11 hours, you're gonna take the lid off and you're gonna cook them for another hour on high, and that will evaporate some of the liquid too. So, but yeah, that looks so
We'll
good.
make some, if it doesn't work out, then we'll make some, what do you call those, fried apple pies?
Fried apple pies, yeah, that'd be good.
We'll make fried apple pies out of it.
Yeah.
That'll be the filling for the fried apple pies.
Yeah, so, yeah, these apples are already really juicy. I drained them really good, but I could just put my whole head in there.
All right, so but as far as stirring, how often should we stir?
Just every hour, 2 hours, you're gonna want to stir it a little bit, just so it doesn't burn to the bottom. But you know, every few hours when you walk past it, you want to stir it a little bit. So.
All right.
All right. So we're gonna get these babies going on high. All right. All right. So we're gonna come. We'll come back and check these in an hour and turn them on low if you want to, and then we'll check them again in the morning for you.
Okay.
So.
And about how much should this make? Just a guesstimate.
One recipe said it makes four pints, so we should be making 8 pints. I have 5 pint jars and 6 jelly jars. A jelly jar is like a half a pint, so I'm hoping I'll be able to fill all those up.
Okay. All right. All right, guys. We'll see you back here in how many hours?
1 hour.
1 hour. All right. We got the apple butter cooking, and now it's time to deal with the
scraps.
I can never get it right. It's you're making apple
scrap vinegar.
Apple scrap vinegar.
Yeah.
Apple scrap vinegar.
Basically, it's apple cider vinegar, but it's not quite as pungent as apple cider vinegar.
And as you can see, guys, these are all the scraps from all the apples that she's cut up.
I'm very against food waste, so if we were to get rid of this, I would have thrown them out in the woods and let the animals eat them. But we can make something out of them, and it's good for you. It's good for your gut health. You can take a little shot of this every day. You can make this to clean with it. You can use it as vinegar on things or salad dressings, whatever. So, okay, so this is all the scraps. I was able to find this big gallon-sized jar at the thrift store today. So, all you need for this recipe is a 1/4 cup of sugar.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to need some filtered or purified water. And then you don't have to have this ingredient. You're using vinegar to make vinegar, basically. But you don't have to have this, but this makes it go faster. So, it's the Bragg's. It's the unfiltered, natural, organic apple cider vinegar. So, we're going to use some of that in there. That's just going to kind of kickstart it. Okay, so I was able to take my 1/4 cup of sugar and dissolve it in some of the water. So we're going to pour that in there. Make sure we get all that sugar. So what this is going to do is this is going to sit on the counter and it's going to ferment. It's going to collect the wild yeast that's in the air, like your sourdough does, and it's going to create a good bacteria.
Now, how much of this do you use?
I'm going to probably use the rest of this bottle.
But is there a certain...
just a couple tablespoons maybe. So this is...
So you don't need much.
This is maybe a 1/4 cup. So let me measure it.
Okay. But it does, as far as in the recipe.
It's just that you don't have to use it.
You don't have to.
No,
but if you use it.
About 2 tablespoons. So we're going to do
2
4.
tablespoons.
Yeah, 1. That might be about all I have. 2. This has what they call the mother in it, and this is going to make the mother. The mother's like this thing that looks like a jellyfish. It kind of looks like a membrane, I guess is what it makes. Okay, so we're going to top the rest of it off with water. And let me give it a good stir.
Do you have a lid for it?
No, you don't put a lid on it because you want it to ferment. You're going to put either a paper towel or a piece of cheesecloth. Okay. Yeah, do not want to put a lid on it. It'll do what that whey soda did. It'll
explode. We don't want explosions.
No. We're going to come back and revisit this in a few days, and it should start bubbling. And we're going to stir it every day because you don't want it to grow mold on the top of it. So you're going to want to stir it every day, and we're going to let it sit on our counter, cover it up with this piece of cheesecloth. All right, we're going to cover it up, and we're going to, what was that guy's name that used to do the rotisserie chicken commercial? Ron Papillo or something? Yeah. We're going to set it and forget it.
Set it and forget it.
We're not technically going to forget it.
For how long?
This is going to sit on our counter for a week. Like I said, you're going to want to stir it every day. And
this is all the scraps that we have?
This is all the scraps. I put them all in this jar. Yep. So, yep. And we're going to make ourselves some very nutritious vinegar with it. Okay, so I'm going to stir it. It's been an hour.
Yeah, it is already getting a bunch of juice up.
Mm-hmm. Juicy.
My goodness, and you didn't add any moisture to this whatsoever.
No.
This is all from the apples. Wow.
Yeah. Oh gosh, it smells good.
It does.
Okay. So we're going to cut these down on low. And we're going to let them go for 9 to 11 hours.
Okay, we're down to the last hour. What we did is we took the contents of this one and combined it because it cooked down. But this already has a nice dark apple butter look to it. But it's cooking down, as you can see. And now what we've noticed is that this is really sweet. And so we put in, what, 4
cups of sugar.
4 cups of sugar.
Per 5 pounds.
Per 5 pounds. And so that is what the recipe called for. Mm-hmm. Now, we did taste a little bit of this on some bread, and it really tastes good. Mm-hmm. It's really good. It's really sweet, but it's really good. It's got that traditional, apple butter taste to it. Anything you want to add?
The reason you're letting the lid off on high for an hour is because you want some of the liquid to evaporate and thicken up.
Okay.
So the next step is going to be blending it, and then it'll be ready to can.
Okay. It's been an hour, and we're getting ready to start canning these things. Well, first we got to puree it.
Yeah.
I got to puree it up real good. But I'm going to tell you right now, guys, the recipe that we used is way too sweet. And so
I will adjust it in the description box, just so we're gonna cut it back to like 2 cups of white sugar and a half a cup of brown sugar.
That's a lot of sugar.
Yeah.
And I thought that when we were adding the sugar in, because apples are already naturally sweet. And so putting in 3 cups of white sugar and 1 cup of brown sugar for 5 pounds.
Yeah.
For 5 pounds of apples. That's a lot of sugar. And so I'm serious. You could probably go 1 cup of white sugar and 1 cup of brown sugar. That would probably be enough.
Yeah.
That would probably be enough. But what we have learned is that we can kind of tweak the sweetness of it by doing what? Adding
some lemon juice and lemon zest.
Okay, so that's what we're going to do. we're going to add in a little bit of lemon zest and some lemon juice to this to kind of downgrade the sweetness of it. Of course, you still have the sugar content is still there. And so those of you that are, you know, diabetics and stuff like that, you know, personally me, I just think now we had actually thought about processing more apples, but it would be another 13 hours.
I also read online that wasn't recommended.
Yeah, this apple butter here is going to have to sit. We won't be able to do anything with it. And so what we're going to do is we're in the laboratory. We're just going to play around with it.
Yeah. And these are organic. If you're going to zest any lemons or oranges or anything, you always want to use organic so it hasn't been sprayed with any pesticides. So these are organic lemons. And you want to try to only get you don't want to go down to the white part. You just only want to get the yellow part. The white part's bitter. So. And these lemons are small, so I'm going to add probably the juice of one of them. It's about 1/4 cup of lemon juice.
Okay, what we've done is she has zested how many lemons?
3 small lemons.
3 small lemons, and then she put in
about 1/4 cup of lemon juice.
1/4 cup of the lemon juice from one of them. Yeah. So what she did is she took one of these lemons, cut it in half, and squeezed all the juice she could get out of it. And we're going to add this to it, let it cook just a little bit.
And then we're going to taste it.
And then we're going to taste it and see if it's kind of
balanced. The acidity is balanced out the sweetness.
Yeah.
And I will say this, for some people it may not be way too much sugar. We've just kind of cut back on our sugar. So it may be, for some people might think that's perfect, but.
Well, I will say this, when I tasted it, it tastes like traditional.
Yeah, it does.
But apple butter.
We've cut back on our sweets, so it's just like a shock to our system.
Okay, we stirred it around real good, let it sit for a minute, and then we tasted it. And I will say this, it did take down that sweet hit. That
smacky in the face.
Yeah, that smacky in the face sweet hit. And I will say this too, even if it wasn't so sweet, that little bit of lemon, the lemon zest and the lemon juice, it added a little tanginess to it that was nice. I did like that. So we're going to have to remember that. But in the recipe below, guys, that she's going to do, we're going to put these notes in here for you. And so you can kind of play around with it yourself. And so.
I will say this. The added of the lemon makes it taste more appley to me.
Yeah.
It's not as sugary. It's more. It brings out the.
It's that, I don't know, there's a good spice taste in there with it.
The spice is perfect.
The tanginess and stuff is just absolutely spot on. And so
that's a lot better.
Guys, what we're going to do is you're going to puree this first?
Yeah, we're going to get an immersion blend, my immersion blend out, and we're going to puree it. And
are you going to puree it right inside of that? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. All right, guys, that'll be the next step. All right, this really turned out nice. I mean, it is nice and smooth. It looks like apple butter and smells like apple butter and tastes like apple butter.
So it's apple butter.
It's apple butter, but now it's got to go in the jars. So what we're doing is we're gonna jar them up. We're gonna can them up, and because both of us need our hands. While I'm speaking, you will see the process on it. And so we're going to, how many jars do you got there?
I've got 5 pint jars and 6 jelly jars, which a jelly jar is a half a pint. So,
okay.
Jelly jar is 8 ounces. A pint 16 ounces.
Okay. And so in a nutshell, we're going to...
So what we're doing now is we're sterilizing the jars. Then we're going to put the apple butter in the jars while it's hot and the jars are hot. Leave a 1/2 inch headspace. Put the lids and seals on them, and then we're going to put them back in here to water bath process. It needs to come to a boil. The pint jars will process for 8 minutes. The jelly jars will process for 5 minutes.
Okay.
And it needs to have 1 inch of water on top of it.
It needs to be over the jar.
1 inch.
1 inch inside of the canner here.
Yep.
And so, but other than that, guys, hopefully we'll see you back with a completed, successful product. All right, here's the moment that we've all been waiting for, the taste test. And so let's look at it right now. Just look how it turned out. Guys, I think this is going to be good.
Looks good.
We got some biscuits to put it on.
Hot biscuit.
And just came out of the oven. And I really haven't had nothing to eat today.
Nope.
And but this is going to be really something else. Here, go ahead and...
One more drop on there.
This is, again, this is...
That's really good.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a hold of it. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that's really good.
Let us take another bite and I'll explain it. We've got almost half the jar gone. And what I want to do is just reiterate, as far as the sugar content, you can play around with that. That's not going to make any bearing on exactly how it turns out, except for just the sweetness on it. We will say that adding the lemon zest and the lemon juice, that's a good thing to add, even if the sweetness is perfect. It really accentuates or highlights the apple flavor that's inside of this, and so that, at least that's our take on this. It really was a nice additive on here. Now, the reason we added the lemon zest and the juice is to take down the sweetness of it just a little bit, which it did. Which it did. And so, other than that, guys, we hope you've enjoyed it. And we are planning on making another double batch. And so, but other than that, just check out the recipe below and experiment with it. And so we think you'll really enjoy this. It's really easy to do. It's not hard at all. You guys take care. We love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.